So you are all here to talk about the high school project. I know you all have a lot of questions. We're going to start with a really quick presentation from Phil Gallagher and from Martha Simons, and they're going to just talk about some quick points, and then we're going to open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm asking you to vote no on the debt exclusion override. This project would be paid for entirely by Burlington taxpayers, and it would massively increase our town's debt to a level that I believe is simply not sustainable. Let's look at the numbers. Right now, Burlington's bonded debt is $83 million. I'm sorry? Okay, can you hear me? Okay, let's look at the numbers. Our bonded debt right now is $83 million. If we add the Fox Hill School, the new police station, and this project of $333 million, our total debt would rise to $540 million. And that does not include Burlington's share of the Shawshene Tech project, which is already in the MSBA window. Could be as high as $30 million. Our percentage is 14 and rising of Shawshene's budget and their capital project, 14%. There are over $50 million in pending requests on the Burlington 5-year plan. You can look that up on the town website. And I've only included a few, $50 million, and that's from the DPW, Recreation, Fire, and Conservation departments. It does not include any of the other capital requests for the other town departments, nor does it include the school department capital request sans this project. An example of one of those projects is the Center Street standpipe right over here. You drive by it every day on the way up here. We have 3 of those. It's going to cost us $3 million to replace that in the next year or two. If we take all that on, not including the ones I just mentioned, Shawshene, et cetera, the annual principal and interest payments will be well over $36 million a year, $3 million a month, for the next 20 years. And that's at 4%. Now, we may get a lower rate when it goes out to auction, or we may get a higher rate when it goes out to auction. But the key thing here is when you take 1/5 of your budget, your entire budget, which was $187, and you turn it into debt, how is that going to affect your bond rating? And we won't know what that bond rating is until we go to auction. Now, the debt might be manageable. Remember, over the years, we've been lucky. We've been able to spend like drunken sailors, but we've had so much growth in the real estate market that the values have increased so dramatically, and we have classification where we tax the commercial property, as we should, at a much higher rate than the residential property. So the debt might be manageable if our revenues were growing, but they are not. Burlington's commercial vacancy rate right now is 20%, and that's due to 2 major issues. First, Amazon's impact on brick and mortar retail. Those Amazon trucks and FedEx trucks that you see going through the community do not pay property taxes. Over 20% of all retail sales in the nation are online, and it continues to grow rapidly, and we can see the impact that it's having nationally on the number of malls that now exist. Over 4,000 malls across the nation have closed. The second problem is post-COVID occupancy that still hasn't recovered. If you drive through town, you can see the parking lots are not full. A lot of the community companies have still retained at-home work, so therefore they need less commercial space. Even at the Burlington Mall, we can see the shift. Traditional stores are closing and restaurants are taking their place. And the interesting thing about restaurants is when you have an economic downturn, the first business that suffers are restaurants. And in Burlington, if you go into Eddie V's or the Escadrille or Season 52 and you have lunch and it's $120 with a drink, you can see why. When there's extra income that you have, disposable income, and that starts to shrink, those types of things are the first thing to go. Secondly, is the shift in our tax base. Here's another major concern. Residential values are rising, commercial values are under pressure. This is a staggering one for you. Just last month, Northeastern University bought 4 Burlington Woods for $33 million. MetLife in 2022 paid $103 million for the same property. In 2 years, it's dropped in value 68%. Now, why is that? This is not a one-off event, because when that goes on the tax rolls, oh, by the way, the whole building would come off the tax rolls because Northeastern is tax exempt. But the interesting thing is when that goes to the assessors, every other commercial property owner in the town is going to look and say, hey, you're taxing me for a value that isn't anywhere near where it belongs. That creates abatements. Abatements, when they win, means there's a return of the amount that you are overtaxed. And we have a large number of abatements already in the pipeline. One we've been fighting for 6 or 7 years with Macy's that involves millions of dollars. This is a warning. This is a canary in the coal mine. The tax burden will shift and more from the commercial sector to the residents. So if you're projecting this $1,100 increase in your taxation, okay, I got one more page. Let me go quickly. No Massachusetts town in recent memory has built a school project of this size without help from the MSBA. They say we're not going to get help from the MSBA, but let me show you the numbers. Since the creation in 2001, they have given $17.1 billion in school project grants, a total of 1,138 buildings. We've been told we are not eligible, but I have to ask, who said that? Is there a list of applicants? Where are we on the list? What are our state representative and state senator doing? Remember, when Charlie Murphy was our state rep, we got the Marshall Simons and the Memorial School basically in the same year. I'm not against building or improving our schools. I'm a product, my children are a product, my wife is a product of the school system. So I'm in favor of paying my taxes. When I'm in government, I voted for every tax increase that came down. I'm terrified to announce that. I voted for every tax increase that came down. So in any event, let me cut it short. I'm not against the building or improving our schools, but I do believe the project should be delayed to one or more of these things happen. We pay down some of our existing debt. We secure matching state funds, which could be, in this case, $120 million. You know, can we afford to pass on $120 million because we're not patient? I don't think so. We scale back the project into a more affordable, phased-in renovation. In closing, we want great schools, but we want a financially stable Burlington. Buildings do not teach children. The override would put us on the hook for decades of heavy debt at a time when our commercial base is shrinking and our revenues are uncertain. Thank you.
Bill, can I have that? Oh, yeah, right.
Oh, yes, Lovely. Sure. Why don't you take it off? I'm shaky. It's in my pocket.
I don't want to reach into your pocket.
Thank you. Can you hear me through this? No. You can pick me up,
Use this
okay?
instead.
All right.
Better.
Where are we going to put this?
You can hold it, or you can put,
Let's try this.
got it.
All right. So can people hear me? Yeah, good. Let me know if you can't. My name is Martha Simon. I am currently a member of town meeting. I'm also currently on the Burlington High School School Building Committee. I've attended, I think, all but one meeting for the last 2.5 years, where a group of about 22 people have worked with professionals in the industry, both project managers and architects and now a construction company, to figure out what can we do about the fact that Burlington High School is at the end of its life for many of its systems like HVAC and electrical, those kinds of things. I came here today as a member of the school building committee to try to answer questions and facts that people had. I didn't know that there would be a yes-no little discussion. I will try very hard not to use the 7 minutes that Phil took to present the yes side. After I was on the school committee. Did I say? I don't know if I said that yet. I was on the school committee for 9 years, and during those 9 years, we went through a lot to figure out what we should do with the high school. Phil talked a lot about the debt. I will leave questions about the debt. We have a Ways and Means Committee that has 15 people on it. We have 2 town administrators with background in fiscal. They came up with a plan about how to fund this, and they didn't feel we could just squeeze it in. It's a lot of money, no question about that, but I hope that Doug Davison, who's the chair of the Ways and Means, is here today, so if there are other questions about how can we fund this, bond ratings don't go down because you fund more money, they go down if you can't pay your money, and they have a plan. That makes a lot of sense to me. So I'm not going to get into all the debt, the money issues that Phil raised, but I want to talk about what I know. So when I joined the school committee, we'd already been, why are we doing this now? I got a question earlier. We have the Fox Hill, we have the fire station, there's a lot of building going on. It was not planned this way. This is not what we wanted. We were hoping that the state would help us with the MSBA is the name of the organization at the state, the agency, Massachusetts State Building Authority. So we say MSBA. And we did get 2 projects at the same time when our state rep was head of the Ways and Means in the state legislature. We were very fortunate. They also reorganized since then. And the top criteria that they've been using is space and enrollment pressure. Burlington High School was built for 2,000 students. I'm sorry, I'm going to try to not go over the amount of time that Phil took. It was built for 2,000 students. We now have about 950. So we applied for MSBA funding. Of course we wanted MSBA funding. We wanted the state to contribute. But each year they would say, we have 90 applicants and we only have the money for 10 or 12 or 15 projects. So whoever they were, sometimes, some years, it doesn't matter, but we were not the top priority. And in the meantime, this is another issue I hear, the buildings have been maintained. The school department has spent money over the years maintaining all of the buildings. And we have been generously funded by town meeting. Sometimes it comes in our operating budget for maintenance. Sometimes the maintenance at the high school has been on a capital article at town meeting. Town meeting's been very generous. So we had new windows some years, we've had new roofs, the boilers have been retubed. I'm not quite sure what that means, but 3 times. But if the heating system goes, it's throughout the building, and it will cause an incredible amount of disruption to the students and to create, how do you get in all the ceilings and with, I don't know how many of you have been in the high school. It's mostly cement walls. It's not easy. It would be incredibly disruptive. So I'm jumping around because I didn't come real prepared to give a presentation. I was going to answer questions. I've also let me throw in, I've heard people say, well, why didn't we get the money from MSBA? Like I said, they came back and they said, once or twice I think we tweaked our application, maybe we try this, maybe we try that. We made it to the second round once or twice. They said, this is an important project, this needs to be done, but we just can't fit you into our schedule of funding programs. They never said there was a problem with the application. There was an article in the Globe a couple of months ago that said something about the MSBA does not reimburse administrative costs. So part of this project includes renovating the building where the administration is. But that's not why we didn't get the MSBA money because they don't reimburse for that. But it doesn't mean you don't get accepted into their program. So that's sort of I keep trying to lay that to rest. That's not why we didn't get the state money. It's not because the school department didn't apply correctly. So that's one thing I want to hope that people will say, oh, you know, yes, people notice stuff like that, and that's good, and we should ask those questions. But that's not why we didn't get the state money. When I first joined the school committee 10 or 11 years ago, people said, you know, we can't possibly do this unless we get the state money. Burlington won't fund this unless we get the state money. And I, you know, waited a few years, but we still had the same problems with a building that's not handicap accessible at the high school, that doesn't have fire suppression system, no sprinklers. Those were things that were not required when the building was built. But now when we do renovations, they have to be upgraded. And don't we want a high school that's accessible to all of our students, to all of our residents? Because we use the high school for other things, for community events. So, so all of that, you know, we went ahead, the school department did, and I'm trying to put together a list so I don't have it like in front of me. Initially, there was a master plan for all the school buildings, and the high school was the top priority of what should we replace. So that's why we applied to the state to get money for the high school for 13 years. Then a few years later, we did, okay, we're worried this HVAC system's gonna go, and what are we gonna do? We had a feasibility study. I believe that this town meeting gave us money for a feasibility study. Again, the engineers came in and said, this, you know, in order to just do the HVAC system, you actually will also have to do the accessibility. You'll have to put in the fire suppression. It would mean, if you think about redoing the whole system, why would we take apart the whole building and not upgrade it? So then, and I'm going to speak for you, Doug, you know, people like Doug on the Ways and Means Committee and other people, well, let's just renovate it. Why don't we do that? And when we hired architects and project managers, they researched it. They looked at all the things that would need to be renovated. How would it get done in a building like this with all that concrete? How would we make, how many been on the ramps? It's hard to walk down the ramps even with just a cane, which I've had recently because I got a new knee. So what would we need? $330 million. The debt exclusion that we're asking people to vote, I'm asking you to vote yes on, is $334 million. If we had gone with, you know, we all went into this building committee saying, you know, how can we do this without spending too much money? We're not going to get state money. So how can we do this for less money? And this is not, you know, there's no marble floors. This is a program where we're going to get a 21st century educational facility, but we're not going to go build, we're going to keep the gyms, we're going to keep the auditorium, we're going to keep that building up at the top of the hill where the administration is. We're not going to put a new one. We're just going to upgrade them for the heating system and the, you know, upgrades that you can do at this time of year. It's not a fancy thing. I've even had some people who said, it doesn't look very nice. We're not putting in marble, and I'm running out of time too. So there's lots of issues. This project has a brand new wing for our students. Some people say, why didn't we do a new building? We looked at, so the school building committee looked at 12 or 15 different options. Our architects were fabulous. You know, they brought us 8 or 9, and we said, well, what about this and what about that? And they found a way to build a new building where the varsity field was. You probably heard about that. Well, it turned out that didn't work out because it was a problem with the, you know, the noise for the neighbors, and we have wetlands. You know, we have floodplains. We have rock ledge. The property is not one where we can just go build something somewhere else and leave, you know, and whatever. And also, if you have to move the kids out, even the $330 million, I don't know if this was included, but then you have to have a place to put the students. We all know that we don't have a lot of space in Burlington. Where would we put the students? So I'm going to stop because I know that that was a long time, and I really want to answer questions. And I want our architects and our project managers to answer questions for you. So, but I hope that people will vote yes. I didn't get into, it's a lot of money, I understand that, but I brought some sheets, and we can get more if you didn't get one, because the average tax rate that they're talking about on the median, is that the right word, house, is about a $1,200 tax increase per year, but not for the first 4 or 5 years. So it would take a few years to get there. And it's a lot of money, but I thought that I had a median household, but it's the assessed value. So my ranch with 3 bedrooms is assessed at $640,000. So my tax increase would not be the $1,200, it would be below that. I'm guessing that most of the people in the room would not have the median household assessed value. Still, so, pardon? What is that? $780,000 assessed is the median. So, again, it's still a lot of money. There's no question. I'm a retired teacher. I live on a fixed income. My husband gets Social Security. It's not something we want to do. We don't want to pay more taxes. But we need to have a new high school for the future, for our, why would businesses come to Burlington if we had a rundown high school that was falling apart and has science labs from the 70s and classrooms with no windows? So I will stop. I will stop. Okay.
Gonna give me another 5 minutes, Mark?
No, that wasn't 5 minutes more.
I'm gonna, all right. I know that there's a ton of questions. So I want to do this fairly. So if you have a question for anybody, just raise your hand so I can see who has questions. Okay. All right. Okay. So I think what I want to do is, I know you probably have more than one question. I'll start with everybody asking one question who has a question, and then we'll go back around. Pat, do you want to start?
I have more of a statement and a
Okay.
question.
Do you want to stand up and let me get you?
Yeah.
So can we at least just acknowledge who's here to
Yes.
support this
Yeah,
as the
absolutely. Yep.
presentation? Let me just hold this. Can everyone hear me all right? Good. My name's Terry Hartford. You may have seen me on a variety of BCAT meetings. I work at Dore and Whittier with the owner's project manager on behalf of the school committee, working with a number of partners. We have Tape Architects. We have Christy Lyons here, who's from Consigli. They're our construction manager. We're here to answer questions. I have the town meeting presentation, which you can certainly see on BCAT, and if you want to watch 4.5 hours of debate, I encourage you to do that. I'm happy to go through slides. We're happy to answer questions. This is meant to be, I thought, an information session, which is what I'd like to get back to, and if we can't answer a specific question, we will endeavor to get you that response. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Terry. Okay.
Marge, if nobody has a question for me, I have a lecture.
Okay, all right. My name is Patty Angelo, and I've been a town meeting member for 51 years. So Phil and I, we know where the bodies are buried. So we're going back to Fox Hill. The state wanted the 2 elementary schools built up at Fox Hill, what they call the butterfly design. Fox Hill came out in droves against this, so they managed to get this turned down. So I'm sure that the MSBA is not thinking kindly of us because they wanted the 2 elementary schools up there, and it was turned down. Somebody contacted MSBA to see why we didn't get the money from the high school, and they were told that the enrollment is down and did not justify the expense, of the school. So we're getting the figure of $1,200, but that does not include the police and the fire station. It does not include Shawsheen. And the other thing is, just this year, when we didn't have a lot of expenses, I think I have a 6-room cape, so I guess I will be the average. But my taxes went up $450, and that's because of salaries and things from the town. So nobody is putting out this other $450 too on top of what it's going to cost for the high school and the police station and Shawsheen. So, I mean, I'm a widow too, and I don't have any other source of income. And this is a killer for us old people. And I know they put down a bunch of forms that you could fill out for tax abatements, but you have to put down every single thing, and you have to give them your taxes from the previous year. Well, you know, I don't like giving my personal information to strangers. And to me, it's none of their business. So that a lot of people then, you know, like my age, would not then qualify to get the tax abatement.
Good job.
You're next.
My name is Gary Caskey. I just wanted to make a correction, Ms. Simons, that the administrative offices is one of the reasons why this was denied, because they're supposed to be separate from the building. And I agree with Pat. The main reason is that the enrollment is down big time, and the scores are down in this community, and those are the reasons why we were denied. And you're talking over $500 million with all these projects going on, and I think Phil Gallagher laid it out pretty good of what it's going to cost the average person. Your taxes are going to go up $1,000 to $2,000 more a year, and that's only the beginning.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah. Or answer it, or information.
Gary, the MSBA did not, the fact that we have administrative renovation space in our project has nothing to do with whether the MSBA.
It was in the Globe. The article was in the Globe.
The article in the Globe was not about Burlington.
It's about everybody.
I'll give you an example. Currently,
Fox Hill, we did get MSBA money for Fox Hill, but Fox Hill is not going to reimburse us for the extra large gym that we're going to put in at the Fox Hill. It's not a reimbursable expense to build larger than they require. They have a size they want elementary school gyms to be, that they will reimburse for. They're reimbursing at about 30%, I think, for the Fox Hill. They are not reimbursing us a penny for the 8 feet extra that we decided we wanted so we could have high school varsity basketball games in that gym. So they do not reimburse. They do not reimburse for the extra things, the things you want. If we wanted a swimming pool, that wouldn't mean they're not going to fund our program. It would mean they're not going to reimburse us for that project. They would not reimburse us for the administrative space. And that's what the Globe said. It's not that they wouldn't accept us into their program. So I wish we could put that to rest. I really do. You can believe Mr. Caskey, you can believe me. I'm not sure why that's become a big sticking point.
There was an article in the Globe.
I know, Mr. Caskey, I know.
All right, we're going to go to this table.
Can I add something to that?
Absolutely.
Do I need a microphone? Can everyone hear me?
The big
All right.
cat microphone, anyway.
Okay. Obviously, I work in this industry, but I'm also a parent. I'm also living in a town that has an MSBA-funded project. I live in West Newbury. It's Pennsylvania Regional High School. I can tell you that what Martha is saying is exactly correct. Our administrative offices are on the campus of our high school, middle school. We didn't get any state funding or reimbursement for renovating the district offices that are on campus. It's an ineligible expense. So I know the article that you're referring to. You do not get kicked out of the MSBA's program because you want to renovate portions of your building or to build a swimming pool or an ice hockey rink. They just don't give you any money for it. This was a point I made at town meeting. It's the same point. And you know, I understand that you're saying that's what it said in the Globe. What I'm telling you, moving on to my professional hat, is I understand what the MSBA will reimburse schools for. They will not reimburse for funds allocated to maintaining or renovating your administrative elements of your school district. So, just.
Good work, Mark.
Got my talent. All right, Thelma.
Even if the state didn't reimburse us, that's not the issue here. Because if they didn't reimburse us, our taxes are still going to go sky high. Why are we worrying about the high school? The high school is supposed to be for students, but there are many other facilities in there. There are town offices, there's BCAT, there's a whole bunch of other offices, or whatever you want to call it, that occupy space there that shouldn't be there. The high school should be for the students. The high school was built in 1973. I paid for one high school. I do not want to pay for a second one, because I've been in town for 61 years. That's a lot of time. I'd also like to know where the money is coming from for the signs that are being placed all around town. Somebody put one in my front lawn, and nobody asked my permission for it, and I'm a definite no. So I removed it. So who is funding this campaign to go around town and put signs everywhere?
Doug has a question. Doug has an answer.
Do you have an answer?
Yeah, you can just.
This is a bad one, let me tell you.
So, I'm Doug Davison. I'm a member of the Ways and Means Committee, town meeting member, local business owner. So I see this from multiple angles. I completely understand why someone would say no. It's a lot of money. I was referenced, but I would just say when I joined the building committee as the Ways and Means representative, my goal was to force us to renovate the parts we had to renovate to replace the heating system and the plumbing. We know that the walls of that building will last another 60 years. Nothing inside will. So it's time, we have to do something to the building.
It doesn't have to be this year.
It doesn't have to be this year, but the mechanical systems are beyond or approaching the end of their expected lifespan. So we can push our luck, but you see, even if we start this, if this vote passes in November, and then we do another year of detailed design work, and then the bids, and then we start to construction in the spring of '27, the new portion will be done in this fall of '29, and then the project won't be done until 2032. So you have to, these are long projects, and so if that system fails, by 2032 it will be beyond its expected lifespan. So part of the problem is we have to plan for the worst. It may be that in 2032 the building's still warm in the winter. That'd be awesome. It may be that it's not, and if we wait until that point, it's going to cost us more money, and we won't be able to do it in as organized a way. But it will definitely be more expensive if we wait until it breaks to replace it.
But the other schools would be paid for, the fire department, the police department, Fox Hill School, all of those probably would be close to being paid for before we assume any more extreme death.
So we will do 25-year bonds on those once they've completed building. Before that, we use bond anticipation notes, which is kind of like a construction loan if you were building a house. And then once the project is finished, we bundle all of those bond anticipation notes together and do a bond for 25 years. So they haven't broken ground on the elementary school yet, and they haven't broken ground on the police station yet. So it will be for the police station approximately 27 years from now before it's paid off. That's well past. We will definitely have to address the high school before any of those things are paid off, which is tricky. It really is. The problem that we ran into, the initial estimates I believe that we got, and this was pre-COVID, so they certainly would have gone up. What's it gonna cost to just replace the heating, the HVAC? What's that gonna cost? And that would be about, back then, I believe it was around $80 million.
83.
$83 million. So the state has regulations that I know some people are saying you can work around them, but I don't believe that's true. The state has regulations that if you spend more than 30% of the value of the building or touch more than, Terry, is it 50%? So if you have to touch more than 50% of the building, ceilings, walls, floors, then you must bring that building up to current building codes. And for that high school, the expensive part would be fire suppression system, which most of that does not have, and make it ADA accessible, which that building is not accessible. And the challenge then, so then it was like, okay, let's just take that ugly old building, which is fine, it works great. Let's take that building and bring it up to code. And that, Martha referenced that. Unfortunately, that's a $330 million project. The center part of the building that we're proposing that we tear down is the tricky part for renovation. And that's because of those long ramps that are not ADA compliant. It's because of the number of independent buildings we have with 2 floors, some 3, I think, that you have to get to from different levels and ramps, and some of the elevators that are there are too small for ADA, so they'd have to be enlarged and replaced. It's a massive project to bring the center section, which happens to be the academic section, up to code. It's cheaper to renovate the upper part of the building, which is the administration part, and the pre-K program is in old high school classrooms that would have to be torn down. They would get moved into the cafeteria. So to renovate that is cheaper per square foot than to build a new building or to send them to another part of town. We don't have space to build anything new anywhere else. We could rent an office space somewhere and have to retrofit it for those needs, or we could buy an office building. Both of those options are more expensive than renovating that upper building. That's the cheapest part of the project. And it's pretty much replacing the AC and the electrical and painting the walls, and it's not doing anything fancier, no major renovation. It is fitting out the cafeteria to be a preschool.
I also heard, you're talking about renovating.
Yes, ma'am.
Heating and whatever. I also heard, and I don't know if this is true, that when they do that, or if they do it, that it will be all electric. The air conditioning and the heating will be all electric. Do we know what the electric bills are? Have you considered that?
Yes, ma'am, we have. And we looked at everything from all-electric ground source heat pumps to air exchange, all-electric air exchange heat pumps, to gas-fired boilers, to heating oil boilers. We looked at all of them. Over a 30-year period, the electric air exchange
Air source
heat pumps are the most effective and efficient. They turned out to be the cheapest, and that included maintenance, it included replacement at the years that they expect parts to have to be replaced. We had a chart that went out 30 years for all of the options. Certainly the oil and the gas were the cheapest up front, but over a 30-year period, they're more expensive. And the most expensive was the ground source heat pump. If we still had as many grants as we had, that might be cheaper, but the air source heat exchangers were the most effective financially over 30 years. We did look at it.
Well, half of us aren't gonna be alive in 30 years.
Just
wait,
answer
so-
her other question. Can I answer
You had a
her other
question? All right.
It's
Can I-
I don't know who it's supposed to go to.
I'm sorry, I just want to reply. There's a political action group called Say Yes to BHS that's been registered with the state, registered with the town. We are following all the regulations for campaign finance and all that stuff. That is the group that is, with other individuals, with donations that are legally allowed, are funding the signs that you've seen around town. I don't have any, I had nothing to do with putting the sign in your yard. I'm very sorry, but if you would like, I'd be happy to get it and remove it as soon as it's.
Already.
Oh, okay.
She's modifying it.
Modifying it.
I didn't say no.
All right,
Okay.
but that was not done intentionally, obviously. Excuse me, Mr.
You
Cassidy.
do?
I was trying to
I
answer
can
her
buy
question.
some.
Okay, all right. So I apologize that that happened. That was not intentional.
Okay, next question. Go ahead.
I don't know who this is supposed to go to, but one of my questions was, with the MSBA and the applications being refused for so many years, part of it was addressed as enrollment is down in the high schools. So with all the anticipated buildings that are coming into Burlington, apartments, condos, and everything else, is there any way in a few years that that could help to get some of the funding from the MSBA? Is there anything different that could be done on the applications that may change it if you just waited a little bit?
I think I do.
Okay, go ahead.
The buildings that are coming in as far as apartments, all of that does get factored in using, the MSBA has a formula, and they're actually fairly accurate at what your enrollment's going to be. Anytime you just saw the apartments on Middlesex Turnpike approved, and
Yep.
they use the MSBA formula, and they use their experience with other apartment buildings in town of the same kind of apartment size and rent to say, this is how many students end up. So I think for that new 188 unit building, it's 6 is they're mostly 1 and 2 bedroom, and they're pricey, and they're just not necessarily focused toward families. So I think if you look at Lifetime, if you look at Huntington, if you look at the ones that are similar to these apartments, very few students come out of that. The other building that's happening is replacing homes with homes, and so we don't, that doesn't change. I mean, our enrollment is down because if you've been here a long time, longer than me, you remember, there was a massive surge in the size of this town, and many of the people that moved in all had kids in the same age range, and so we had a bubble that came through. I think we're kind of predicted to be stable now for a long time. I don't foresee it, and I don't think any of the formulas or any of the outlooks that are done would suggest that we're going to have another bubble like that.
So,
Can I answer a sign, one about signs?
Not yet. I want to make sure everybody gets to ask a question. All right.
Oh, go ahead.
Anyone
No,
else?
go ahead.
Betty. No, I don't have anything.
So
Go ahead.
getting back to it then, everyone says, okay, so you put in the applications and it keeps coming back the same, and if you keep doing everything the same, you expect the same answers. Yes, that's true. Is there anything that can change on the applications that would give us funding for it?
Right, each year the application was rewritten. It wasn't, they didn't just submit the same application 15 times. They rewrote it, they tried to use you don't get formal feedback, you can get some behind the scenes, but the reality is, again, it is an incredibly difficult proposal to get it approved. The amount of money they've been given by the state at the MSBA has gone down. They used to be a 50% reimbursement rate, now it's down, effectively, I think it's more like 26%, maybe 30%. So it's not as much money as it used to be. It's great money, I wish we could get it. But like on this project, maybe 80 million would be what you would get, which is significant money.
Yes, it is.
It's about $250 difference on the tax. So that would be significant. But you're looking at a 5% escalation rate every year on what it's going to cost to do the work on the building. I mean, the problem is we're just up against a kind of a hard deadline. We don't know it exactly. It's not a date certain, but we're against a hard deadline with a very large building. It's the largest building, the largest project in town, and it's time to replace the heating system, basically, and that triggers all of these other cascading things. So again, I went into it saying, I'm sorry that our science labs are old, but we can make them work. I'm sorry that our classrooms don't have any windows, but we can make that work, you know? But we could do that for $330 million, and for $4 million more, we can do what we're proposing. So that was the challenge. It was very disappointing to me. I would just say, you know, there are people that are saying, oh, it could be done cheaper, or it could be done different, or they don't really have to follow that code, or they don't know what they're talking about. It's not the building committee talking. Town meeting gave $1.5 million for a study. We spent 2.5 years. That study, when you break it down, means structural engineers, mechanical engineers, plumbing, you know, mechanicals, plumbing, architects, design. It means all of those people spent about 1.5 years going through that building. We have laser drawings and mapping of the building. We know within 1/8 of an inch what those ramps are. We know that they're not accessible. Sections of them are accessible, but the building itself is not. And so we have $1.5 million worth of information, and that's what we based our decisions on, which it's unfortunate. You know, my business tax is going to go up 4 times more than my homeowner's tax. I'm not happy about anything.
All
Okay.
right, does anybody at this table have a question?
I had one more question. I had one.
Absolutely.
So I have one design question. Does the new design include solar panels?
So it's designed right now, so there's, the existing building has solar panels on it, right?
And a portion of those panels are going to have to come off because that's that middle section of the building. And we will design it to be solar ready. My expectation is that we will work with the power purchase provider to sort of amend the current contract that we have, because our intent is to put solar panels on as much of the building as we can. But that is something that we will figure out during design development after the town meeting vote.
Okay, and the other question is more for the senior center here and Ways and Means. What percentage of Burlington seniors are receiving some sort of financial assistance now? And is the town ready to assist further? And how are they going to assist further if people are already at their end of their means financially?
Well, I don't know. You pointed at him.
I did point it out. I didn't want to leave Jim out, but I had one part of it that I know the answer.
All right.
So in speaking with the town administration, I would just say that none of the programs available are well used. They're underutilized. And that, you know, I don't know what to say beyond that, except not a significant number of seniors are using them. I think part of that has to do with what Ms. Angelo said, that you have to provide some personal information, and people aren't accepting of that, or they're nervous. But it's by statute, it's state rules. I mean, we have to follow the state rules, so that is
It's
one
already
of the
get to the
components.
IRS, give it to the town.
You have to show that to qualify. And I know there are some programs, and I know that the town's committed to trying to help people utilize those.
Thank you, Doug. Jim Jacobs from the Select Board. The town of Burlington offers every possible abatement to a senior that's available, whether it be through the state or the tax work-off program. But as Doug said, not everybody's taking advantage of that for their own personal reasons, which we get. But when it comes to taxation, commercial versus residential, and we're going to be doing the tax classification soon. It's a constant animal. It's going around year round. There are certain laws and guidelines that we have to follow as far as we can't overtax businesses, we can't undertax residents. I've had people ask me, why can't we go 0% 1 year? Well, we have contracts for hundreds of employees that go up 2.5%, 3% a year. We have inflated costs for material supplies. We just try to keep up with the budget. And remember, our Select Board does not set the budget. Town meeting sets the budget. We just decide how we're going to split it between the businesses and the commercial side and the residential side. So there are a lot of things that we would love to do, a lot of things we can't do. So we offer as many programs as possible. Contact the select board to see what is available. And believe me, if I could wait for magic wand and give everybody a break, I would. I mean, I'm retired, I have a fixed income, but I still work two additional jobs just because I want to, but it's going to affect a lot of people, and I wish we could do more, or say that we could do more, but there's just so much we can do.
So I'll just say something from the Council on Aging side of things. There are obviously programs like Jim said. If you find you really need help with your taxes, whether this goes through or not, at any point, if you're having trouble with your taxes, there are options. Not all of them are the best, but there are options. So please come and talk to the social workers here, Andrea, Shayla, Karen, or Fran, that can help kind of work through them and figure out what's best for you in terms of abatements and work-off program and deferments. Deferment is an option. It's an option not many people want to take, but it is an option. So just come talk to us and we can help you kind of work through that. Not the best answer, I know, but we don't have too many definitives. So who else at this table has a question?
Yeah, well, it wasn't a question, it was
Okay, so Thelma, I want to make sure we get everybody first and then we'll go back to seconds. Okay? Anybody at this table? Questions? Any? Okay. Okay, so we're going to go back and do seconds.
I just wanted to know, what is the income, the lowest income that you have to have in order to apply for these rebates, that being a senior? Does anyone have the answer to that? What would the income be?
I don't have specifics. It depends on what the actual program is. There's abatements for people who are that are age appropriate. There's veterans abatements. There's income. For the tax program, I know right off the bat, $45,000 for a single person, $55,000 for a couple. They're not really low. They're fairly reasonable. So. You know, again, they're set by the states. We can't fix those, but they're there. Okay. Pat, I think you were next.
Back to science. We don't have an over, an emphatic no vote. The three of us are town meeting members, and we are pooling our money and looking into the cost of having signs made. The no signs. We don't have a political action committee. We're just three town meeting members that are really concerned, and especially, you know, people in our age bracket. But even the young people just starting out, this is going to be a hit for them, for young people with families. I mean, this is going to hit everybody and hit them hard. But like I said, we're looking into having signs made up for no's, but we're pooling money ourselves. You know, out of our own pockets. We don't have a political action committee. So if anybody wants a no sign, contact me. I'll take your name and address.
Okay, Thelma.
Can I respond to add some information? I think that you should check with the town clerk's office, because if you're collecting money for a political vote issue, I think you need to get registered as a political action committee. I'm not sure, so I would encourage you to talk to the town clerk.
We're not collecting. We're contributing.
Thelma.
I'm sorry. Oh, mine was just a comment.
Okay.
Because they were talking about help for the seniors, and what I don't understand is they just passed a resolution to charge a fee, the fire department to charge a fee for the seniors. I say the seniors, for anybody that, if somebody calls the fire department because they have fallen, now the fire department's going to charge you for that. Well, you don't have a 30 and a 40 and a 50-year-old person falling. You only have seniors that are falling and they can't get up. So now the seniors are going to get, the seniors are going to get zapped again.
Okay, I gotta clarify that. That is completely false.
Thelma.
So that is completely false. We are not charging any seniors anything. There are 3 for-profit assisted living facilities in Burlington. When someone falls, they don't pick them up. They leave them on the floor until the fire department gets there. They're afraid, or what I've been told is, they don't want to injure their employees, or their employees don't want to get injured. So they'll leave them on the floor until the fire department shows up. So what if they're at a house fire? How long is that person going to stay on the floor? As I stated at town meeting, this is not money driven. It's not about the money. It's about the 3 for-profit facilities to change the way they do business. And the residents will not be billed by the town. The facilities will be billed by the town for that expense. So I had to clarify that because that was wrong. We're trying to change the way they do business, not trying to, in other words, we're trying to get them to pick the patients up at their for-profit place. That's what that's about.
So you're not gonna, if somebody calls from a residential home?
Absolutely not. Only the for-profit facilities.
Another question here, did one of you have another question?
The questions about the project.
Does anybody have any more questions? Go ahead, I'll answer.
I'd like to add another thing, if people don't have other questions. If people do have questions and you want to get in touch with the project manager, there's a website. You could call the school department and ask who to talk to, because we do want to be able to answer the questions that people have, because there's information going around and some of it's not completely accurate, you know, like we didn't get turned down because of the administrative space. I also wanted to add that $334 million is a lot of money. We've been really fortunate in Burlington. We have not had to have a debt exclusion. I've been here 33 years. We've never had a debt exclusion. We've stayed within the 2.5% increase. That's by state law for our taxes. The taxes have gone up and nobody likes their taxes to go up. This is the first time we've had a request for a debt exclusion. It is temporary, but for people like us, it's probably the rest of our lives. But I think that we need to support this project for the future. I mean, businesses aren't going to want to come in town, and people aren't going to want to move here, and property taxes, property values would go down if we don't do something to fix our high school. The money, you can't get around it. It's a lot of money, absolutely. But somebody else paid for my children's high school. My kids are all grown, and there's now a new generation that we need to do this. It's not a fancy project. If you compare with other towns, I don't know who said it, but this is not the most expensive high school project around. This is less expensive than many of the projects that are around now. And the prices did jump incredibly because of all the supply chain issues we had over COVID. So it is a sticker shock. The numbers are huge because of all the costs that are going up. But this is not a fancy project with money being wasted. A lot of people with a lot of expertise and a lot of thought and a lot of caring about the town of Burlington, have come up with this plan. It's not perfect. We kept hearing ideas. People would have ideas, well, why don't we wait 4 years? Well, there were a lot of reasons, like how much more it would cost and how we'd need to hire a new project manager. Somebody said, well, why don't we just buy one of those empty office buildings? Well, it turned out that didn't meet our needs and it wasn't going to be less expensive. So you may have an idea of something we should have looked at, and maybe, but it's a good chance that we looked at it. And I do hope that people will vote to go forward in Burlington with this high school project.
All right, last call for questions. Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out, especially those that are not town employees or elected officials or residents. So we appreciate it very much. And
whichever side you are on, don't forget to vote.
Yeah.
Thank you.